Hey everybody, happy Thanksgiving. It's Morgan, the new Youth Services Librarian at the Radford Public Library, coming to you today with a Thanksgiving story time. So this book that I've chosen today is about one of my personal favorite Thanksgiving foods, which is pumpkin pie. I make a special version that has graham cracker crust and has Cool Whip in it, and it's so good. It's so good. It's probably a little late for you to make pumpkin mousse pie this Thanksgiving, but maybe keep it in mind for next year. So I think you can figure out that the book I'm going to read today is about pumpkins. I hope you like it. It is a very nice story, and I hope you eat some lovely, lovely food today on your Thanksgiving and are just grateful for everything that you have. Okay. Our book today is called How Many Seeds in a Pumpkin? It is by Margaret McNamara and illustrated by G. Brian Karras. So if I'm looking at the cover, I see that there are 3 different kids and they don't all look the same. So I'm going to guess that it's probably like in a school, and they're holding different sized pumpkins, all of them. So how many seeds in a pumpkin? I wonder if they're gonna be counting. Let's see. Charlie liked school. He liked his teacher, Mr. Tiffin. He liked his best friend, Alex, but he did not like lining up to go into school. Mr. Tiffin's class lined up by size, tallest to smallest or smallest to tallest. Charlie was the smallest in class every time. So if Charlie's the smallest, I'm gonna guess that that's Charlie. One chilly fall morning, Charlie was surprised to see 3 bright orange pumpkins on Mr. Tiffin's desk. One pumpkin was big, one was medium, and one was small. How many seeds in a pumpkin? Mr. Tiffin asked the class. Does anybody know? Well, do you? Do you know how many seeds are in a pumpkin? Take a guess. Nobody knew, but everybody had an idea. The biggest one has the most, said Robert. I bet it has 1 million seeds. Robert was the tallest boy in the class. The medium one has 500, Eleanor said. Eleanor always sounded as if she knew exactly what she was talking about. And the tiny one has 22, said Anna. Anna liked even numbers better than odd ones. Mr. Tiffin wrote down all the guesses on the blackboard. Charlie was very quiet. What are you thinking, Charlie? Asked Mr. Tiffin. I'm thinking that all the best guesses have already been taken, Charlie said. Why don't we open these pumpkins up and see, said Mr. Tiffin. So I see that he's written a lot of different numbers here on the blackboard. They've got 1 million pumpkin seeds, 522, 137, 900, 750, 15, 399, and 100. So I want you to take a moment and think in your brain about how many seeds are in each pumpkin. We've got a really big one, a medium one, and a small one. Let's take a moment, choose a number, keep it in your brain. Okay. The next day, the kids in Mr. Tiffin's class brought in spoons for scooping and bowls for holding and plastic bags for throwing out. They covered the floor with newspaper. They put on their smocks. It's a messy business counting pumpkin seeds, said Mr. Tiffin, but the class was ready. If you carved a jack-o'-lantern, you probably got pretty messy. After Mr. Tiffin cut a circle around each pumpkin stem, Kimmy, Alex, and Jake pulled off the caps. The children peered inside. This big one definitely has the most, said Robert. We'll see, said Mr. Tiffin. The pumpkin pulp was slimy and stringy, and the seeds were hard to get out. When the children were finished, there were 3 empty pumpkins, 3 full bowls, and 20 messy hands. Tomorrow we will find out the answer to our question, said Mr. Tiffin. Tonight, your homework is to think about how we should count all the seeds. That afternoon, Mr. Tiffin dried the seeds. The next day, he put them in 3 paper bags marked big, medium, and small. "Did you do your thinking homework?" he asked the class. "Yes," Alex said. "I think we should just guess." "I think we should count very, very carefully," said Tara. "I think we should count by 2s, 5s, and 10s, said Molly. The class agreed that Molly had a good idea. Robert, Kimmy, and Jake all wanted to count the seeds in the big pumpkin by 2s. Anna asked if she could join them. "We can be the 2s club," she said. They practiced counting. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, they said together. Jeremy, Tara, Eleanor, Molly, and Alex liked counting by 5s. "We'll count the seeds in the medium pumpkin," said Molly. "We can be the 5s club." 5, 10, 15, 20, they cheered. "I'll take the smallest pumpkin," said Charlie. "Guess I'll be in the 10s club." Poor Charlie, he's all by himself. "Good idea," said Mr. Tiffin. 10, 20, 30, Charlie began. Soon there were many groups of seeds in front of each pumpkin. The 2s club. "See," said Robert, "the 2s club has the most. They had 170 pairs of seeds. So not 170 seeds, they had 170 pairs of seeds." The 5s club. "We have lots too," said Eleanor. They had 63 groups of 5 seeds and 1 seed left over. So 63 groups of 5 and 1 extra. The 10s club. Charlie had exactly 35 groups of 10 seeds. If you can do some math in your head, you might be able to guess who has the most seeds. Robert looked at the seeds in front of Charlie. "You don't have a whole lot," he said. "Let's get counting," said Mr. Tiffin. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, began Robert, Kimmy, Jake, and Anna. It took a long time to count 170 pairs of seeds. "My brain hurts," said Anna. The biggest pumpkin had 340 seeds. "Almost 1,000,000, said Jake. The 5s were a little easier. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, chanted Jeremy, Tara, Eleanor, and Molly. There were 316 seeds in the medium pumpkin. "Too bad for you," said Robert. "It's not a contest," said Molly. "So the big one has 340. The medium one has 316. That's where we're at right now. The 10s were the fastest of all, since there were just 35 groups. 10, 20, 30, 40, Charlie counted to himself. "This can't be right," he said. "What can't be right?" said Mr. Tiffin. "There are 350 seeds in my little pumpkin," said Charlie. "That means it has the most of all." "So it does," said Mr. Tiffin. "Congratulations, Charlie," said Alex. "The 10s club wins." "It's not a contest," said Robert. Mr. Tiffin told the class to gather around. "You can never tell just how many seeds are in a pumpkin until you open it up," he said. "But there may be some clues. Take a good look at these." The class did. "Charlie's is darker orange," said Anna. "And it has more lines on the outside," said Robert. "And if you look closely, you can see that it does. That's the tiny one, and you can see it has way more lines than these 2 other pumpkins." "Yep," said Mr. Tiffin. "For each line on the outside, there is a row of seeds on the inside. So for every line, there's a row of seeds on the inside." "That's good to know," said Eleanor. "And the longer the pumpkin grows, the more lines it gets," he added. "Its skin gets darker too." "So even though my pumpkin was the smallest, it was on the vine the longest," said Charlie. "Yeah, exactly," agreed Mr. Tiffin. When it was time to go home, the class lined up by the door. "Smallest to tallest this time," said Mr. Tiffin. Robert was in the back. Eleanor was in the middle. Charlie was at the front. "Small things can have a lot going on inside them," Charlie said to Mr. Tiffin. And then they left the classroom with Charlie leading the way. And there are some pumpkin facts by Charlie And my favorite one is one that I always forget. It says, is a pumpkin a vegetable? No, it's a fruit. Always forget that pumpkins are fruits. It just isn't something that I apparently want to know about pumpkins. So that was How Many Seeds in a Pumpkin? A lovely little book about pumpkins, which is something that people love to eat on Thanksgiving Day. And I think that this class probably could have eaten a lot of pumpkin seeds after they counted all those pumpkins. So I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. We are going to close out with a little rhyme. And if you want, you can follow along because I'm sure you know the tune. It's called 5 Little Turkeys because that's what we eat if you eat meat on Thanksgiving Day, normally. 5 little turkeys sitting in the hay. The first one said, it's Thanksgiving Day. The second one said, what's that I spy? The third one said, it's pumpkin pie. The fourth one said, oh, what a treat. The fifth one said, let's eat, let's eat. Then they went to the table with a wobble, 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 and they ate their pie with a gobble, gobble, gobble. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.